What's going on, y'all? I want to check out this video about the non-amazing Lucas. The non-amazing Dusty Lucas, actually. They also call him the amazing bottom. This is a video that was done by the actual Justice Warrior. He did this video a while back about Lucas and his Piers Morgan experience, where he was saying all these disgusting things about Charlie Kirk. And I figured this would be like an oldie but goodie. So let's check this out.
I can look at what you've done, and I can see somebody who is abhorrent and despicable and actually evil. Actually, the stuff when you target someone's widow as she grieves.
Once again, I disagree with the word targeting.
No, I'm talking about me personally, my view of what you've done. I don't care about your motivation in terms of other people's inappropriate memes, many of which I may well agree with you about. But that doesn't mean that I then go and do it myself or worse, because that makes me even more inhuman and abhorrent.
You know, I really do hate Piers Morgan's show the more that I think about it, because essentially what the premise of so many of his episodes actually is that he will find somebody who posts the most incendiary, ridiculous, over-the-top take. They post this, by the way, for attention. Then he will bring that person on the show, thus giving him that attention, broadcast the thing that Piers is about to condemn to a much larger audience, all so that Piers Morgan could say, I think that's reprehensible in his.
Yeah, that's like the technique for TV shows, and has been for quite some time. Dr. Phil was doing that. Shoot, Montel was doing that back in the day. Or who else? I like Jenny Jones. That was one of my favorites. Maybe even some Ricky Lake. I digress. Y'all want to hear all the TV shows I was watching when I had no business doing that at my age? I was a toddler watching Ricky Lake. Watching Jerry Springer. But yeah, that's like a thing that they've been doing throughout television. Shoot, even YouTube now. There are whole channels that's dedicated to that, and I'm not even mad at it. It's I guess entertainment. That's what it's really meant for. Yeah, sometimes it is platforming some dumb ideas, but it is for the sake of trying to get people to be entertained by it.
British accent, all while he rakes in the cash. It's absolutely disgusting when you think about it. And a perfect example, a perfect distillation of this premise is the recent episode that featured the amazing Lucas, who, by the way, is a guy who used to be a right-wing YouTuber, but then decided that he was going to flip to be a black radical because he started becoming increasingly uncomfortable with the failures among the black population in the United States of America.
Y'all said Piers should have never gave Lucas the time of day. Now that I agree with. I do agree. I understand the tactic, but yeah, I still don't think Lucas should have been given any attention because he's doing it for the attention.
So he went into full denial of those failures. He now talks about post-traumatic slave syndrome and all sorts of ridiculous things like that. And essentially, he went from a guy who would do vaguely intro to conservative basics, right-wing talking points that weren't even that interesting in the first place, to a guy who basically covers up all the problems in the black community, much like a family that has a destructive alcoholic in it ends up not wanting people on the outside to know about that alcoholic and would rather have the family suffer than actually suffer the embarrassment of confronting reality. That's who Amazing Lucas is, an anti-white absolute loser who, again, can't take responsibility for his own life, doesn't want black people to take responsibility for their own lives, and in addition to that, thinks that putting white people down ends up helping black people in some ridiculous and absurd way. And this is what we're going to talk about today. But before we do, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Shout outs to Actual Justice Warrior.
We're going to show here. One is a post that's a parody of a Jubilee debate. I'm doing one of these myself soon, titled Charlie Kirk versus Bullet. Can one bullet to the neck outsmart one conservative? Well, that was a short watch. Number two is a mocked up promotion poster called Kirk and Twerk at Neck of the Woods and hashtag both Charlie Kirk and his widow. And the third was an image of a sunrise titled God Works in Mysterious Ways with the hashtag Charlie Kirk killing and praying hands as an emoji. And you're laughing as I show these.
Yeah, let's get this off right here.
Yeah. You nasty fam, you nasty. fam, you nasty. You nasty fam, you nasty. You nasty fam, yeah, you know your name. You
Nasty work. This dude is horrible, bro.
Why do you find this funny?
So remember what I said about the premise of Piers Morgan's show? The fact is, the Amazing Lucas's Instagram posts are disgusting. They're reprehensible and obviously so. But in reality, they would not get as much play out in the world, but for the fact that Piers Morgan decided to bring them up on air in order to shame Lucas, who again, he provided a platform to in order to do so. And by the way, a lot of people ask me to do this show or that show. And in reality, it is not up to me to be invited on these shows. So please stop telling me to go on other people's shows when I'm not actually invited there. And B, the reason that I don't get invited to shows like the Piers Morgan show is because you don't see me doing this kind of nonsense on the internet.com in order to get attention. I'm fine growing on my own, actually telling you what I think, not just trying to gin up hysteria and shock value a la Destiny, a la the
Respect. You gotta respect that. Real talk. I'm very similar. I'm cool with just growing slow. That's fine. I don't need none of the craziness.
Amazing Lucas, because unlike them, I actually think the substance of my arguments hold water, and I don't want to be a clown who's brought on to perform for somebody like Piers Morgan. But again, Lucas has no hesitation in playing that role because it's all about attention for a guy like him.
Well, let me just say that I actually am a big advocate for dark humor. And I happen to have gotten a bit of a taste of that over the last, I don't know, maybe decade or so when it came to the right and their memes of George Floyd. Happy birthday being sober for 5 years. When they came to their memes of Breonna Taylor.
So much like Destiny, the Amazing Lucas ends up hiding behind a very thinly veiled justification for his own hatred towards white people. And he ends up basically saying that, oh, there's this George Floyd meme where it says 5 years sober for George Floyd. Again, who gives a damn about that? If you want to be upset about that, feel free to call out the people that are making those memes. That doesn't really excuse you mocking Charlie Kirk's assassination and then, of course, tagging his wife in that in order to get attention. Then he says Breonna Taylor gets mocked. And honestly, we haven't really seen a lot of Breonna Taylor being made fun of. Most people agree on all sides that she's essentially an innocent victim in that particular case. It just so happens that her ex-boyfriend, the guy who was a drug dealer, ended up getting packages at her property. Her current boyfriend, who was at the property at the time with Breonna, thought that the police were actually him breaking in. So he fired at a cop, hitting the cop in the leg. The cops fired into the apartment thinking that they were getting shot at by the drug dealer. And that ultimately ended up leading to the death of Breonna Taylor. But there isn't a lot of mockery of her.
When it came to their memes of Trayvon Martin, the Trayvon challenge, right? When it came to their memes of Tamir Rice. So I don't know what the issue is. I think I'm engaging in the freedom of speech that the right has been advocating for these last 10 years and mocking and making light of Black Death, something that Charlie Kirk himself did time and time again. And
so then he brings up Trayvon Martin, who's shot by George Zimmerman, the half Hispanic guy that the media tried to paint as a white supremacist. And of course, he brings up Tamir Rice, who was shot by the police in Ohio because he had a BB gun or some kind of not real handgun that looked like a gun. And the police pulled up. They tried to tell him to drop it. And then Tamir Rice ended up going for said gun, and he ultimately ended up getting shot. Now, there are criticisms, by the way, of the police in the Tamir Rice case. We've actually went over that case on this channel before. But again, these are all just thinly veiled justifications. And of course, Amazing Lucas taking the cases of these different various Black people so personally that he feels like he has to go after Charlie Kirk. But in reality, one does not.
He's just using it as an excuse. That's all that really is. It's an excuse for him to be nasty and foul and just do and say disgusting things. And be like, well, but y'all thought it was okay when who's y'all? I hate when people do that, especially like these woke people. They try to use one side as like a whole monolith of y'all all did it. So it makes it okay when they do something disgusting. I think that's just foul, personally.
Justify the other, and the idea that he's a proponent of dark humor, but also it's revenge. Those are two conflicting explanations. Like you guys understand what's going on right here, right?
Matter of fact, I would argue that if Charlie Kirk, instead of focusing his time on Black culture and Black on Black crime, if he had spent a modicum of his time focusing on the white youth that perhaps he would still be with us today.
So there you have the amazing Lucas saying that, oh, Charlie Kirk should have spent a modicum of his time focusing on the white youth. Therefore, he would be alive to this very day.
How much time is Lucas focusing on the inner issues within the youth in the Black community and not just trying to like blindly defend like he's doing with all the true crime cases?
As if Charlie Kirk didn't actually do that. He didn't actually engage with the youth out there in the world. But again, this is the amazing Lucas projecting his insecurities about the absolute failures of various Black communities around the country. And what he's trying to do is be like, oh, you should have talked about white youth instead of Black youth, when in reality, Black youth is way disproportionately more criminal. And by the way, considering the victims of Black crime are disproportionately Black people, what the amazing Lucas is trying to do is protect Black feelings over Black lives. That's the irony of this, is that if everybody did what he wanted, which was ignore the significant problems, specifically violent crime problems among Black communities, in order to spare Lucas's feelings, in order for him not to confront the issues within his own community, then in reality, that would lead to more Black deaths. So again, this is just a pathetic explanation for this. It's a pathetic justification, and it just shows you the profound weakness of somebody like amazing Lucas, which, by the way, he's about to show you again when Piers Morgan asked him directly if he's happy about Charlie Kirk's death.
Are you pleased he's dead?
No, absolutely not.
So how did you feel about his murder?
I don't think.
How did you feel about his murder?
So Piers asked him if he was happy about Charlie Kirk's death, and he says, no, absolutely not. And then Piers says, how did you feel about his murder? And Lucas is going to tell us that he was happy about it because, again, he sees Charlie Kirk as successful white man. Charlie Kirk sometimes talked about problems in Black communities. Therefore, he is the enemy of the amazing Lucas, and he somehow thinks Black people will be enriched by Charlie Kirk being murdered.
Which is pure disgusting. That's just nasty. Almost double tap the nasty song. But that's how Lucas gets down, bro. And the fact that he gets attention for doing so and saying these foul things makes him even more excited about it. This dude is just a horrible person overall.
How do I feel about his murder?
Yeah.
Well, I think a quote by a great author sums up the sentiment of millions of Americans around the world. And that is, some cause happiness wherever they go, others when they go. And I think that's a sentiment that is palpable amongst many Americans around the world.
So Lucas ends up using that quote right there to say that he is happy about this. But of course, he does it in the most cowardly, weak way. When he's confronted again by Piers Morgan, he ends up denying it. And then he
pretty much said it without saying it directly.
He starts talking about this is why many Americans around the world ended up feeling like this, because I also have to point out that Lucas doesn't really know how to talk. He's not in command of the English language. And it's actually embarrassing to hear this man speak, especially when you actually listen to the verbiage that he's using.
Due to the hate and vitriol and bile that Charlie Kirk sowed. So I think there was a
just to be clear, just I misheard you, then you are happy he died.
No, I don't think as far as happiness is an emotion that
you literally just read me a quote which implies you're happy. Fair. You talked about some people's death bring happiness.
So, of course, Lucas says, oh, he did all this hatred and bile and whatnot. He didn't. Again, he's victimizing himself. He's saying Black people are the victims, even though Black people are not the main character of the United States of America. They're not the main character in Charlie Kirk's life, and they're not the main character in the death.
The main character is hilarious. Main character. I don't think I'm the main character just because I'm Black. Let's be very clear. That's not what I would ever say. It just sounds hilarious, though.
Of Charlie Kirk. Nobody gives a damn about your insecurity about the failures among Black Americans. Get over it, push them to succeed, and stop trying to deny the problems within those communities. In addition to that, he's going to back off like a coward, even though he just read a quote about how happy he was, again, saying it without saying it. And it's absolutely cowardly. He knows why he's on this. He has been celebrating it publicly, and yet he is in full denial of it on Piers Morgan when directly asked. Now, indirectly, he'll dance around this. He'll tell you how he really feels about this. And it just goes to show you what a scumbag he actually is.
The purpose of the quote was to say that there are some people who have caused harm and death and turmoil to other groups of people, such as Charlie Kirk, whether it's black people, whether it's, trans people.
So again, he talks about how Charlie Kirk hurt black people so much by talking about the actual real problems within various black communities around the country. Again, Amazing Lucas's position is that if you have an abusive alcoholic in the family, it's more important that nobody knows outside of the family rather than, addressing the problems caused by said abusive alcoholic within the family. And then Pierce ends up asking him again, and Lucas denies it in the most cowardly way.
I heard the quote. Just to be clear, you said that the quote ends in that their death brings happiness, but you've denied that you were happy. But when you tell me a quote,
I don't disagree.
When you tell me a quote like that, I presume from that quote you're implying that actually you are happy he died because he deserved it. He had it coming.
No, not at all. I don't think those are ever words that I've ever mentioned verbatim ever.
Such a brave guy Lucas is. He never said those words specifically.
He's such a sucker. Weak. Can't even just keep it real. Can't even just be honest.
Verbatim, he never used those exact words in that order. Therefore, you can't draw that conclusion, Pierce, which, by the way, Piers Morgan acknowledges. He points out that he quoted an author specifically to imply that he was happy, but Lucas too cowardly to address that. He also tries to pin it on other people, which again is a pattern from his own life where he tries to blame the problems from within the black community that are caused by members of the black community on white people, because he's always trying to shift the blame, never can take responsibility for anything in his own life.
There is a sentiment that when someone who lives their life in evil and wickedness, according to the scripture, the power of life and death is in your tongue. And the hate and the vile and the venom that he spewed, I don't know what to tell you. As the scripture says, as he professed, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. I think his focus should have been on a community that, clearly is in problem. That I find it interesting that there's more scrutiny on people who may make memes that they've done of George Floyd and other black victims than on the white male youth that did this tragedy, as some would call it.
So you notice, by the way, that the ginger is nodding along while Lucas is spewing this absolute insanity. And again, I will point out his obsession with the white youth and problems within the white community is absolutely absurd and ass backwards, because yes, even though this person happened to be a white guy that shot Charlie Kirk, ignoring the wildly disproportionate levels of violence among black communities in the black youth doesn't actually help them. The irony is this guy thinks he's the big defender of black people, but in reality, he's perfectly fine with those elevated rates of homicide. He's perfectly fine excusing it. In fact, he's uncomfortable by the idea of you pointing out the reality of the situation. So essentially, he's lashing out and crying about it. And the fact that he keeps bringing this up really goes to show you how insecure he actually is. It's really genuinely pathetic.
I think this hypocrisy is ubiquitous within the right. And I think my memes expose that hypocrisy.
And what about your own personal humanity? I mean, hashtagging his widow in a mocked up promotion poster.
That was insane. As much as I criticize what she out here doing, I don't think you should be making funny memes of her husband passing away and then tagging her in it.
What's wrong with
you? Are you that desperate for attention? I hate tagging anyone in something if I speak on it, right? In general, I just think that that's so corny, is clout chasey. Like, I don't even check my tags anymore. Like, with people trying to tag me, because everybody and their mama will say something disgusting and then at me just to get my attention. Like, you're desperate for me to react to it. That's weird. You should not be saying disgusting things and then trying to get people's attention. Yo, you got to see what I said about you. It used to be worse. Until I stopped allowing people to even DM me. People would make videos on me and then send it to me and be like, hey, I hope there's no hard feelings. Why are you sending me a slander video, you weird nincompoop?
What's wrong with y'all?
Get your nasty, desperate ass out my inbox. That's why I was just like, I don't even want people to message me no more. This shit is weird. You get a little bit of clout or attention and people lose their fucking minds because they want it. And I'm a small YouTuber. So imagine on that scale, that's so foul. People are going to retweet it or share it. They're also going to try to tag people. That was disgusting. That was pure disgusting. Nastiness.
Kirk and twerk at Neck of the Woods. How do you justify targeting? Oh, well, hang on. How do you justify targeting his widow?
I think that's a bit disingenuous to use such hyperbolic language as targeting. I think it's more of a strategic plan of attack to get the message out to more people.
So one of the most impressive things about this is that Lucas has a horrible comprehension of the English language. He's like, I think it's really disingenuous of you, Pierce, to use the language of targeting. And then he proceeds to describe what he did, which is, by the way, the definition of targeting. Lucas, what is wrong with you? Are you okay? Are you off your medication?
By default, that's what that was. And Lucas is like, well, I wouldn't say that. That's what it was. That's what you should say.
Do you need some help? Do we need to call a doctor for you, buddy? I think you're unwell.
When we saw Erica Kirk, she had a moment to speak for unity within the country, left and right. And she chose to fundraise. She then chose to use the scripture and talk, very nicely of her, past husband. And I understand that. But by that same token, there are people who were absolutely harmed by the rhetoric that Charlie Kirk put out. And that rhetoric actually codified in many cases in many states. So I think it's abhorrent and actually perverse to expect people who are harmed by his rhetoric, harmed by someone who had anti-black, anyone who wasn't white.
How was you harmed by him giving his opinions and actually like allowing people to give their opinions and speaking to them? How was you harmed? Because he disagreed with you? That's crazy. Crazy! That's way different from you directly going after someone.
And Christian, in his perspective, I think it's perverse to try and criticize those people or try and make them seem as if they're the bad guys.
Again, notice Lucas distancing himself from his own actions, much in the same way that he distances Black America from responsibility from their own actions. He keeps talking about how you can't expect people to do this, how people are going to react like this. And this is the reason why people are upset about this. And the crazy thing is that while he's talking about all the harm that Charlie Kirk allegedly did across the society, oh my God, he hurt all the blacks and the non-white Christians. In reality, Amazing Lucas, his whole brand was boosted up by Turning Point. This is a former Turning Point USA ambassador, so his career was aided by Charlie Kirk's organization. He owes part of his success to Charlie Kirk. He was directly helped by him, but then he's like, oh my God, white people help me. Charlie Kirk stuck his hand into the gutter to lift me up. I can't deal with that. I can't deal with that cognitive dissonance. So I'm going to talk about how he harmed all these vague, undefined people. Shut up, Lucas.
But see, funny enough, I can look at what you've done and I can see somebody who is abhorrent and despicable and actually evil, actually. The stuff when you target someone's widow as she grieves.
Once again, I disagree with the word targeting.
Again, Lucas might actually be unwell because he listens to what Pierce says, and the only thing he objects to is the word targeting. But as we said before, Lucas quite literally used the definition of targeting in his defense of what he was doing. In his own description, he described targeting, but the man is too stupid to understand what he's actually doing. Again,
that's facts. It's either that or he's so nasty he wants to try to like manipulate and gaslight people. Like, nah, that's not what I ain't do that. No, that me? I'm black. When all else fails, let him know that you're black. Black, blackity black. Blackity black, blackity black, I'm blacker than black. Black.
This guy is very much in trouble. He very much needs his medication. Somebody help him.
When it comes to Republicans, when it comes to conservatives, they have to see. I think I'm a mirror of what they have shown.
I'll let you have your say.
If they don't like what they see, they should actually detour
I'm using your own.
Now, Lucas says that he's a mirror. I think he's trying to say the word mirror of Republicans' wicked behavior. And again, this is much like Destiny's behavior and how he justifies it, blaming it on Trump. And I will just point out to Lucas, Destiny, and all these ridiculous leftists that want a built-in excuse in order to not be held accountable. The only thing you can control is your own behavior.
I find this exceptionally sad because Lucas, you talk about how hurt you were and how offended you were by such despicable things, and then you became the thing that you found the most repulsive, which is alarming, and as I mentioned, deeply saddening. I would be more than happy to litigate some of Charlie's positions for you. I abjectly.
So Jillian Michaels ends up trying to counter Lucas's points, and Lucas gets really upset that she's actually bringing up counter arguments. So he decides to stay on topic and really push his message home. Oh wait, did I say that Lucas acted in a way that sounded logically? No, he decided to condemn Jillian Michaels for adopting a black baby, which he describes as purchasing a black baby, because guess what? Lucas doesn't like the idea of white people taking care of black children when black people are unable to do so. Again, it makes him uncomfortable, the parenting situation going on in huge portions of the black community in the United States of America. So rather than, address those problems internally, he decides that he needs to go after Jillian Michaels for actually trying to provide a home for a black child.
I don't think I need any litigation from a woman who tried to downplay slavery, who tried to all lives matter slavery after she purchased a black child. That's what I would argue. I don't think you need to, as far as litigate anything. Would you like to discuss it?
Disgusting. And he's running from the actual conversation. Wow.
Especially you, who is the mother of a black child, who she purchased.
Right.
Other people
is my turn to talk?
You purchased.
Is it?
By all means.
How did I? Okay, well, I'm not quite sure what you mean by purchase. She's adopted, and it is illegal.
Did you pay?
To child.
Did you pay to get that child?
No, I paid the adoption agency.
It was absolutely free.
Study.
It was absolutely.
I paid the adoption agency like you.
So then there was a process of
child.
No, cut that out, bro. Process of pay. This dude is wowing. What? No, bro. You can't just say none of that because someone's is white. Like that's foul.
That's
other people
adoption agency.
Also, and I think it is really important for me to point out that Lucas, despite the fact that he calls himself the amazing Lucas, appears to not be able to say the word palpable.
And I think that's a sentiment that is palpable.
Lucas, the word you're looking for is palpable.
Palpable.
No, Lucas, we are not becoming friends with the table. It is not pal-table. It is palpable, not palatable.
It's palpable.
And this whole entire segment was an absolute disaster in every possible way. But again, as bad as Lucas is, this is exactly what you expect when you bring him onto this show. So really, it's shame on Piers Morgan. Let's be clear about that, because when you bring a crazy person on the show, because he said crazy things, you provide a wider audience for those crazy things, all to have him repeat them on the show so you can cut clips of him saying those crazy things just so you could sound virtuous by condemning him. I still blame you for providing a much wider audience to that. And for those of you who are saying, Sean, you're repeating what Lucas is saying, well, you're going to have to figure out that one for yourself. And again, my criticism is almost equal parts Piers Morgan as it is to Lucas and Piers Morgan.
I can understand that. I get it. When it comes to the whole platforming thing, yeah, I don't think that Lucas should be platformed, but by me even reacting to him, am I platforming him? Who knows, bro? Who knows? Tell me what you guys think down in the comment section. Hit the like button and share the video. Also hit the hype button and watch more videos. Knowing me, I dropped a bunch. And check me out on my live streams. You can find a link in the descriptions.